Lots of new campaigns get launched every single day with AI using Play. So we know a lot about prompt structuring. In this video series, we're gonna go over some of the best practices that we found in 2025 for different kind of areas. And this first video is all about prompt structuring. Most people think that prompting is write me an ad and that's all there is. So yeah, that's not prompting, that's actually simply hoping. And in 2025 we have a lot of data of what's actually working and what's not. The people who actually get results are getting a great output from using guardrails for roles, for inputs, for constraints, formats, and lots of examples of what's working and what's not. Because prompting should not be kind of like a wishing well, but more like structured thinking. So here are the 5 things that your prompt needs to actually come out looking kind of nice. First of all, a task. Of course, you want, regardless of whether you're running ads, you're generating creatives, or you're simply doing a supermarket list, or I don't know, analyzing next week's weather. You still want to give it a task first, which is basically what you want it to do. Then the context, which in our case has to do with the brand, the audience, the offer. Then the references, which has to do with your industry, with the market, with examples and marketing angles. The output format, which is basically what you expect the result to look like, kind of. And finally, and really important of course, the evaluation process of what good actually looks like, plus of course iteration. Here's how this looks actually when you work in Play. This is basically Google's prompt framework, but still this applies to ChatGPT, to Grok, to whatever it is that you're using for AI and for whatever purpose. But the first thing, of course, the task is what you're doing over here. In Play, all of that is already structured in the platform because we know what we're generating: ads, creatives, optimization, headlines, whatever. Then you got the context, which basically is the market knowledge plus your brand information. Then the references, which means what are your best performing, which guardrails do you want, what's your industry like. And then the evaluation phase, for which we have optimized for me and optimization folders to help you kind of evaluate creative quality or results or where your budget should be going. And then, super important of course, the iteration phase, for which we also have a bunch of tools. So regarding the task, of course, that's already embedded into the platform itself, into each of the pieces that you're playing with. But regarding the context of your brand, that actually is all filled out on the brand context, for example, where you can fill out your brand voice, your product or offering, all of the different details about your business. And this actually changes everything. Instead of you writing a novel about whatever it is that you're doing, Play pre-fills all of this information for you. So all of the context from your brand plus references from your industry and platform best practices are already getting dropped into Play when generating your ads for making amazing results. But what when it comes to analyzing the results from these? So as some of you may know, there is a lot of information about the different metrics, what you should be looking at and where and how to assess the performance of your ad. But if this is one of your first campaigns, what I recommend is to keep it simple. Take a look mainly at the CTR, which is basically what will help you evaluate the creatives from your campaign. If they are performing well, if the CTR is high, it means that the creatives are actually performing well and you do not need to do anything in there. If the CTR is actually kind of low, you might want to rethink the creative strategy that you're using. But if it's actually performing well, you can actually go towards the cost per lead, the cost per conversion, and analyze more of the full funnel that your users are going through, because maybe your creatives are great, but maybe your landing page is not optimized. Maybe the offer that you're offering is not that attractive. To fix the creative issue of your campaigns, if the CTR is not high enough, remember you got the creative bank on the optimization and insights tab, where you can drop up to 50 videos and up to 50 images, plus up to 200 primary text and headlines for your ad. You just select the ones that you want, you tap on save and start testing, and the AI in here will automatically rotate them in if your ads are not performing or if they simply get exhausted because they're showing too much, and as you know, the latest Meta Andromeda update will be impacting your ads in this way. Now, that will help us with the CTR end of things when optimizing your campaign so that you can do it hands off. But what about the cost per lead? What about that cost per result that you're seeing? For that, what I would recommend is, of course, optimization folders are our in-house solution for different cost per result, cost per lead kind of situations, right? And why is that? Because these are basically automated budget reallocation tools based on performance. And what this means is that you can actually launch different platforms, different kind of campaigns, one which is for leads, one which is for messages, to work actually on your offering, even different kind of landing pages on each of them, and also on different platforms like Google versus TikTok versus LinkedIn, because that is another thing that can affect your campaign's performance, that you're simply not showing up where your audience actually is. And that's where optimization folders come on in for this. You can group them all together, turn on the optimization, and rest easily knowing that the AI will actually allocate your resources towards your best performing campaigns. And just after a few days, you will be able to tell what's working from what's not. Plus, in a really hands-off way, getting already your money towards what's actually giving you results. And tune in next week because we will be covering the best ad formats that we have seen work on 2025, so that you can also make the most out of the coming year. So drop all of your questions in the comments or reach out to get support at play.app. And yeah, until next time.